Hey, what's up, AfterBuzzers? Welcome back to The Bold Type Season 3, Episode 10. This is the season finale. You guys, Jane got back with Pinstripe, Sutton bought Richard a ticket to San Francisco, and Kat broke up with both Tia and Idina. Clearly, we have a lot to cover, so stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hello.
Welcome back. We are here. I cannot believe it's already the season finale. I feel like the show has been lasting a long time, but at the same time, it's been so short.
It's funny that you say that, Carla, because I was literally just talking to you about how I'm like, wow, the show seemed to go by pretty quickly.
Yes, it really did. You guys, we are missing my dear co-host, Allie and Krista tonight, but I have Veronica, the one and only, joining me tonight. Thank you so much for always being such a trooper and being here to cover us.
Of course. I love this show, and I'm always excited when you guys ask me to join you.
We are excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, well, without any further ado, let's go ahead and move into the show. What did you think about the episode in general?
I thought there was a lot going on, and I think there was obviously a lot of relationship drama going on, which they kind of set up last episode, and you know what? For the most part, I'm very satisfied to see that none of our characters, for the most part, kind of had an unhappy ending. They all seemed kind of satisfied towards the end of this episode, which I was very excited about. But I'm very curious what's going to happen because, you know, Scarlet Magazine took a big hit this episode versus the .com. So that last scene has me crazy to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was very surprised by tonight's episode because of the way that it ended, you know? It ended with a lot of loose strings, and I don't know if at the time that they were filming, they knew that they were getting a, like, 4th season, but if they wouldn't have, like, if we were waiting right now to know if they were getting a 4th season, I would be so impatient. I would be like, okay, when did the news come out? Like, I need to know because I need answers, because everything was left off with, like, you don't know what's to come next. So it was great that they did it that way because we know that there is a 4th season coming, but if there wasn't one, I would be so not patient right now.
I like that you brought that up, Carla, because I would be like half and half. Like, for example, with Jane and maybe Kat, I would have been like, you know what? They kind of tied up their loose ends for the most part, so I would have been okay with, you know, how it ended there with them. But with Sutton and basically Scarlet as a company, I would have been very impatient because I have no clue what's going to happen next for them.
This is true. Well, without further ado, you guys, let's move into our 3 main topics of tonight. We're going to talk about Kat, Jane, Sutton, a little bit about Scarlet, and then we're going to do our bold topics of the night, and we'll wrap up with some future predictions. So first, let's start out with Kat. You guys, at first, I was very nervous because Kat broke up with Tia. And then I was like, wait, is she really going to go back with Idina? And then we get that she breaks up with Idina as well, and she's choosing herself. How do we feel about this?
You know, to be perfectly honest, I'm very proud of Kat. I think she was struggling a lot in the beginning of this episode, and even at the end of the last episode, I was very nervous because she was kind of straddling these 2 relationships. Yeah. And as much as, you know, I did love her fiery relationship with Idina, and of course that was her first love, I'm sure.
Yeah. Sorry, Veronica.
Of course.
You guys, I just saw you in the chat. You're saying that there is no sound on your end. I have said that out loud, so hopefully our engineers will be able to fix that. We are so sorry that you can't hear us right now, but hopefully the problem will be resolved soon. Thank you so much for pointing it out.
Yes, I was also saying that in the chat. Thank you so much for pointing it out because, of course, we want you to hear what we have to talk about, and you guys showed up on time, so we want you to be able to hear what we're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
And we were talking.
You were saying about Kat.
Yes. Excuse me. I was nervous, honestly, about this relationship with Kat and these 2 relationships that she was kind of dealing with. I'll be perfectly honest, I was kind of rooting for Tia just because I kind of wanted to see Kat evolve from her first relationship, and especially because Tia made it a point that she was very nervous kind of exploring this relationship with Kat.
Well, this is completely new for Tia.
Exactly. And so I was very nervous of kind of Tia feeling regret or anything like that. So I was very nervous about that. But I'm very happy that Kat is taking time for herself. I think that kind of going through the election took a toll on her, and I'm very happy that she's kind of trying to find herself and trying to just put Scarlet as her goal right now, just trying to work at Scarlet.
Yeah. See, for me, I'm kind of really proud for her because she had this kind of experience while running for a campaign of what it's like to be like an independent woman and trying to find herself. I think this was a moment where Kat was really challenged, and it was really interesting to her have like to come out of this and be like, okay, I lost, but not only did I lose the campaign, now I'm gonna lose both of the people that I was interested in, and like by choice, you know, like the two girls, it's just like I'm letting them go because I need to figure out what I'm doing. And I think that's so healthy. I am so proud of Kat, and I think it's such a selfish thing for her to do, because sometimes I feel like when we're trying to figure things out, we drag people along and we're not really sure like what we're doing, and it kind of ends up hurting the relationship. So I think it was so good of her like to just be like, yo, I need time by myself, and hopefully she figures it out. And now we know that Idina is going to be
working at Scarlet.
Yes, she's going to be working at Scarlet. She is now going to be the in-house photographer, which doesn't surprise me, but I like this because now we don't have to wait to see if like Idina's gonna move out. We kind of see like there will be eventually a future for all of us who are like Idina fans. We want to make sure that we're able to like see them together eventually later when Kat tries to figure things out.
I really wonder how this is going to affect Kat's kind of work-life balance, because it's very clear from the end of this episode that Idina is not happy with she's upset by the choice that Kat is making, because she clearly wanted to come back into this and really give things with Kat another go-around. But now that she's basically going to be in Kat's presence, it might be a constant reminder for her that, right now Kat doesn't want to give her another shot. And so I really wonder if there's going to be some new tension growing there.
Yeah, probably. It's kind of like, I always think that relationships in the workplace you have to be careful with, because if you're going to be together and then not be together and still be around each other, it's kind of like, where do you draw the line? You can't even be dating other people because you get to see them all the time, and then they find out that you work with them. So it's kind of like, but I'm excited for them because I feel like Kat and Idina are going to be endgame maybe for the show. What do you think?
You know what? I can definitely see them being endgame, but I think if they were to get back together right now, it would kind of make me not want them to be endgame. I think it would be more satisfying if, they were together in the beginning, they kind of had this time apart, we got to see Kat explore other relationships, and then they come back together naturally. It's like, oh, I remember that relationship.
Are you talking about exploring or other relationships like Tia, or like she
other
can explain to somebody else?
In general.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't know that she'll get to experience other relationships.
Really? What makes you think that?
Well, because right now I feel like she is so invested in just wanting to be by herself, and if she already didn't go with Tia or Idina, I don't know that she'll go with anybody, at least for the first 5 episodes of the next season. I think she's probably going to take some time by herself, and if she does need somebody, like, she'll always have Idina there, because it's kind of hard. Like, I feel like things closed with Idina, but they didn't really like close. Like, there's always going to be something there.
I mean, for sure. I definitely think that for the near future, we're not going to see Kat exploring any relationship. But I mean, I guess I'm just thinking down the line of like seasons, 4, 5, and 6. Hopefully we get those that, Kat might explore other relationships before finally making her way back to Idina. Because, of course, like you're saying, that you think they're endgame.
They are. I do hope so. You guys, once again, I want to apologize. I know that right now, I think the video is
frozen.
It's frozen, but that we're lip singing. Yes, we are lip singing. I'm so glad you guys
new show lip sing battle.
Yeah. But if you are on iTunes and you're listening to us, hi guys. We're having issues with our video footage, but I think we will continue, and then hopefully they'll be able to resolve this issue soon.
You know what, Carla? Speaking of iTunes, we always want to give some iTunes love. And just like Scarlet with the fall issue, there's so much content to explore on YouTube, obviously, but of course iTunes, as we had just mentioned. So, even though our video is lagging, once you're able to get it up and explore this content, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And of course, if you're on iTunes, give us that 5-star rating because 1 through 4 doesn't work anyway. But no matter where you are, please leave us a comment because we love you getting involved in the discussion. We love everything all the opinions you have to bring to the bold type and all the bold issues you want to talk about. So please do that. And, being a part of AfterBuzz has meant so much to all of us, and we're so excited that we get to bring you this content and talk about stuff that we love and get you involved in the conversation as well. So just be sure to keep on loving our shows and be sure to tell your friends because that helps us too.
The more, the merrier. Okay, so next, I'm going to talk about, I'm trying to decide because they're both like really good, but let's go with Sutton.
Yes.
Okay. Sutton she does her fashion show. She wants to create clothes for everyday women, not only models, which I thought was awesome. It was so nice that she was a risk taker. She went for it. It went great. She ends up having to design this dress for Joanna Coles. However, when she comes in the next day, Jacqueline decided to redo the whole magazine. So they're really busy and she kind of gets to experience her job of like kind of styling and being in the photo shoots. What did you think about that and kind of like her passion and her testing the waters for both?
I really like that she got the opportunity to test the waters with her career. I think, in your head, and I think, specifically, this episode of The Bold Type kind of really touched upon that topic of you tell yourself one thing, but because we're human, when that, thing finally comes upon us, we tend to do something that we never thought that we did, as we'll get into when we discuss Jane and Pinstripe.
But like Kat and Idina, we would guess they would be back together. Exactly. And then she's like, well, this is actually not what I wanted.
Exactly. And then with Sutton, she was probably telling herself for a while now, I really want to be a designer. I really want to be a designer. And so she felt she really had to be a designer and, kind of give up the fun of her work at Scarlet to be able to do stuff like design this dress.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that she got the chance to actually work through that. And to be perfectly honest, she made a very good point of like design is very lonely. I like being kind of around lively people and getting to be creative. So I'm proud of her. I'm proud that she had, what's the word I'm looking for? That she had, I guess, security in knowing that, hey, I tried this. I realized it wasn't what I thought it would be.
But she was good at it.
Mm-hmm. But I found what I am also good at and what I also love. So I'm going to stick with this.
And it's that whole thing about love what you do is so true. You really want to love what you do because that way you'll be happy in your workplace. And you do spend so much time in the workplace. So it's important for you to find something that you really like to do. So make sure that you test it out, have fun with it. I think that most of us have like a certain timeline that we're trying to kind of like fulfill. We're like, oh, I need to do this by this. But really, you can try anything at any given age. If tomorrow you're like, you know what, I actually want to be a fitness trainer, then you go take those fitness classes and you go teach. And if you hate it, then whatever, at least you tried it. You lose absolutely nothing with trying a new pathway, a new career, because you never know. Maybe you'll love what you ended up leaving and then you'll be back.
And I just want to give a shout out to our wonderful engineer for fixing the issue, and now our fans can hear us.
Yay!
Which is very exciting.
I know. We've been having a full conversation by ourselves. You guys, we covered so much while you guys were gone, but we talked about Kat and her basically breaking up with Tia and Idina. Whatever you guys think, write it in the comments, and I will go ahead and give you guys a shout out. Thank you so much for being so patient. We really, really, really extremely appreciate it. But now, just going with Sutton, what do you think about her kind of pushing Richard to follow his goal?
Here's the thing. I love the fact that Sutton is being really supportive and pushing Richard to do something that she sees that he's passionate about. It's not something that he just says. Like, she has physically seen how excited he gets when he talks about this new opportunity. So I'm very happy that she's pushing him in that direction. However, what I'm curious about is she kind of just gave him this flight ticket to go to San Francisco. But obviously they didn't really have a conversation of like doing long distance, or even the first thing that popped into my mind is how long will he be in San Francisco for? Because it seems like this friend of his really wants to do this startup in San Francisco. And I get the impression that it'll be there for a while, which means Richard might be out there for a while. And I'm like, did you guys have that conversation? You know, like how long, like if he does go, like how long exactly you'll be doing this?
And when is long, like too long, you know?
Yeah.
I totally get your point of view, and I didn't even think about it. But for me, I was just like, I am so thankful that she's kind of even thinking about doing this, because sometimes when you are in a relationship, people tend to be selfish, and the fact that she was like, you know what, I had my chance and I tried it. And one of the reasons why I think that she was like, oh, I'm gonna give him a try, is because she thinks that he might have, and this could be sort of like a prediction and it could totally not be accurate, but I feel like she could think, well, I tried what I was passionate about and I didn't like it, so maybe if he tries it, he won't like it and he'll come back.
Oh.
You know, because that's kind of where she's coming from right now.
Yeah. Oh, see, it's funny how you didn't really think about what I said, because I had no idea. That did not pop in my head what you just said of how... But see, that makes me worry a little bit in the sense, like, setting up to fail, I don't think is the proper expression to use here. But I feel like that is kind of the close equivalent of, like, maybe she has that slight hope in the back of her head so that it doesn't...
And honestly, she's hopeful too that, like, maybe if it does go well, he'll be able to come back. I mean, you guys, you know that I'm Team Sutton and Richard from episode 1, season 1. So for me, their endgame. Is Richard going to go to San Francisco? Yes, maybe. Is he going to come back? Most definitely. Are they endgame? Yes, definitely. Is there going to be a wedding? I totally think so. So...
I mean, I'm with you on that.
So for now, we're just going to be okay with the fact that she's being understanding. I think that's what I was waiting for her to do, because last episode when she was like, oh, well, are you thinking about taking it? She wasn't very supportive of the fact that he was maybe wanting to pursue this, and this was the thing that we talked about. But I think that it was great that she bought it. I don't like the fact that she bought him the ticket, but I think that it'll be interesting to see kind of how the Bold type tackles long distance relationships and like the temptation that comes when like your partner is away, or the temptation that doesn't come. It's just kind of like, it's a new topic for the Bold type to bring up, and I'm really excited for it.
See, I'm very excited to see how they will tackle this type of long distance, because they kind of sort of touched upon it this season with Jane and Sutton. Granted, their long distance has not been and won't be as extensive as Richard and Sutton's long distance. So I'm very interested to see kind of what side of long distance they'll tackle, so they're not necessarily just repeating themselves.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a little bit different with Sutton, because Sutton's relationship with Richard's a little bit... I hate to say this, but it is a little bit more serious than Jane and Pinstripe. So I think that their relationship is kind of like they're ready for basically the next step, but they're not taking that next step because they're both trying to figure out what they're doing, which is great, because it kind of shows like that even though there could be an age gap, that doesn't mean that the person that's older than you has it all figured out. So it's great that they're also basically tackling that, you know, that at any given age, your partner might want to try something new, and you should kind of be a little bit supportive about it.
Of course, you should be supportive, and I mean, it's never too late to learn a new thing.
No, or dream a new dream.
Exactly, exactly.
So let's see. Oh my gosh. Aimee Motorhouse, thank you so much for joining us and being so patient. I saw you here, Aimee. Shout out to you. And she said that perhaps Sutton wants the bed all to herself.
Hey, that's great.
Having a bed for yourself is awesome, okay?
It is. And I feel like Richard is a king-size bed kind of person, so imagine that room.
That space.
She'll probably live it up for like maybe the first few days.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Then it'll maybe start to hit her that she misses him, and we'll start to explore that part of the relationship.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you think that Sutton is going to stay at Richard's place, or she's going to move back with Jane?
Ooh. Well, I think in the beginning of the season, she's going to kind of be forced to stay at Richard's, because there's no room for her at Jane's, because Alex is still there.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah. So unless, in the beginning of the season, Alex is like, hey, my apartment is fixed, I don't need to stay here anymore, then maybe Sutton will go stay with Jane, just a sense to not feel lonely, you know, when she goes home at night every single day and it's just her. So
because she was just talking about the fact that she didn't like working by herself, and now
she'll be by herself potentially.
And I don't think that she's lived by herself before. So this could be also a new thing that they tackle of like living by yourself when you've never had to. Mm-hmm. My life. Okay, so now we are saving not the best for last, but she's kind of the best for last because Jane was so strict last episode to say that she won't be with anybody who cheats on her, that she was not going to get back with Pinstripe, but things happened to change this episode. So Jane had to go cover the 92nd Street wide panel, and Pinstripe decided to show up and ask a question that was not a question. What did you think when he showed up? Like, what was your original thought? You were like,
not the right time, dude. I'm sorry, everyone. I cringed so hard. Like, I know it was a very sweet, emotional, genuine message he was trying to send to Jane, but I thought it was, and granted, maybe this was his idea of, like, this is the only way she'll hear me out, so I have to do it, but I just thought it was very wrong time, bad timing. I thought it was cringy because he's saying all of this and everyone in the audience and probably the rest of the people on the panel are like, what is this guy talking about?
And you could totally tell that Jane was a little bit uncomfortable while he was talking as well.
Yeah, because even though maybe the rest of the people in the room didn't know that he was talking to Jane, it was still uncomfortable. And I have to admit, I cringed. I was like, Ryan, no, not the right time, dude.
Yeah, I was actually afraid that he was literally going to ask a question to Jane about something that was not going to look good just during the panel. So I kind of got afraid in the beginning. And then as he started talking and going on, and I was like, okay, like, it's okay that you kind of did this, but it's also not okay. Like, this is not the right time, not the place. There's a time and place for everything, and that wasn't the place or the time.
Exactly.
So I agree with you.
I wonder if, going back and watching the episode, if what Jane's response would have been if he had asked something like, I know someone who made a mistake with his girlfriend, as a journalist or whatever, what would you explain, or like how would you handle the situation, or like what would you think? Would you, as the feminist, would you take him back or would you not? Like, what's going on?
I like the turn of because in the beginning I was like, what could he possibly ask when this article is so specific to like the Pamela Dolan story, So I was like, this is a very dangerous story for him to want to ask a question for. Mm-hmm. So I like the turn of like the whole feminist part of it. I like that. It would have been nice for him to actually ask a question, but
it would have made me feel less cringy.
Yeah, it was cringy, but you guys, I think this is the first time that he said "I love you" to Jane.
Oh, he totally did, and that part did make me melt.
Yes,
I still think it was the wrong place, wrong time, but I'm happy that he said it.
Yeah, I think he said it. It was necessary, and I think that he went all out and he did whatever he had to because he knew that he wasn't going to have another chance, which I think it's really interesting that he just kind of showed up and he was like, hey, I'm here.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy with kind of how the end result of this whole storyline, just because at the end of last episode, once he revealed that to Sutton, immediately my initial thought was like, well, there's the end of that relationship, and I was disappointed because I really liked their relationship, but I always felt like Jane was someone who, once she says something, she sticks to it, and I was like, I feel like Jane is the kind of person to have made it up in her head that if she ever, was in the situation where she was cheated on, she wouldn't put up with it.
Yeah.
And so I was very sad because I was like, why'd you do that, dude? Like, I really liked to see where you're going, but I love the fact that this episode touched upon the topic of kind of what we were talking about earlier of, how you can say one thing and think that you're going to do that thing and try and stick to your guns. But as Sutton said, we're human. Yeah. And looking on it as an outsider looking in, it's very easy to say like, oh yeah, dump him.
Yeah.
But, Jane was with him. She was feeling love for him. So it was very hard for her to just kind of kick that relationship to the curb.
Yeah. And see, I totally understand that. And I thought it was really interesting how they touched upon like the labels, because as we talked about it in the previous episodes, we knew that something was going to happen with the relationship, and we did not want that to go through because we were so afraid. And of course, it had to be a cheating story because it's television, guys. We need to
They
have
need that
it.
drama.
You know, we need the drama. But I think it was handled really well. And I like the fact that they brought up the labels and the fact that she was thinking like, oh, I can't get back with him because I've said that I can't be with a cheater. And it was more of like, it's something that she set herself and not that necessarily like anybody else told her to do. It was just by her, like on her own, I mean, actions, what she wanted to do. So I think it was really awesome that she kind of was like, okay, you know what? I do love him, which she admitted. Mm-hmm. And then she went to go find her Prince Charming for now.
I mean, here's the thing. I think because Kat and Idina were never really together this season, and she was only seeing Tia. They were never an official couple. Obviously, I think that, and I don't want it to happen, but I think if a relationship, writing-wise, was to end first, it would be Pinstripe and Jane before Richard and Sutton.
Yeah, of course.
But it still makes me sad because I really do enjoy their dynamic and how they both kind of, you know, support each other and have the same line of work and want to see each other succeed, and I really love that. But I
want to give a shout out to David Phoneville in the chat. David, thank you so much. I also saw your comments in here letting us know that you couldn't hear us. So shout out to you. Thank you so much for being so patient. And in his comment, he says that Jane better than me because if somebody cheated on me, they would get the boot faster than Superman can fly. Ooh. I agree. Mm-hmm. And we'll touch about that. We're gonna, like, one of our bold topics is second chances after anything, after any issues. So we'll get there. So to kind of basically wrap up the episode, let's talk a little bit about Scarlet. Finally, Patrick seemed to get on the same page as Jacqueline, you guys. It is going to rain outside because he decided to be okay with the fact that Scarlet is a magazine no matter whether it's online or if it's on print. So that was
finally
a good step forward.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm so happy about that because honestly, I was irritated with this weird, like, kind of at each other's throats, or not even that, but this weird tension between him and Jacqueline. And I'm like, I don't get it. And him wanting
to be better, and it's like, come on, boy, you can't do better than Jacqueline. This is her magazine for years, like 10 years already, so please stay back. Which I'm really happy that they kind of...
They saw eye to eye.
They saw it eye to eye, and now, because we've really been hating Patrick for like episodes now, like probably from the beginning till maybe today, when I was like, oh, okay, maybe you can stick around for season 4, or maybe you'll get fired and we'll all be happily ever after. But what do we think happened with Scarlet? Are they moving offices? Are they being shut down?
Oh, it's tough to say. Are
they shrinking?
It's tough to say because, I'm sorry, I tend to forget his name, but Jacqueline's assistant. If you remember his name in the chat, please let us know. I apologize for drawing a blank right here.
I think it's George, and I don't know why I'm forgetting.
I don't know, but his reaction seems very worrisome. Granted, he just seems like a nervous bee to begin with, so maybe I shouldn't base my whole observation on his reaction, but I don't know. I think a part of me in my gut thinks that Scarlet Magazine is going to be facing a tough time.
Yeah.
I think that digital, I think especially because, you know, the .com got the Pamela Dolan story, I think Scarlet as a magazine is going to face some rough times next season, for sure.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely have to talk more about it in predictions. But now, let's move over to our special segment where we talk about bold topics. And the first bold topic that I want to talk about and bring up is the fact that Jane shows up at the pizza place where Pinstripe is. Very scary. And how did she do that? We come to find out that she has the Find My Friends app. So my first topic is Find My Friends app. What do you think about it? Is it a yay? Is it an A? Do you use the Find My Friends?
I have never used that app.
Really?
Never.
Oh my gosh.
Never. I think it depends. It depends. This is one of those things that I think you just kind of have to have a conversation with the person that I guess that you're tracking.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's fair.
I have never used it. I don't think I will.
If you were to use it, who would you share your location with?
honestly probably my parents, since they're asking me where I'm at all the time anyway, and I would just look at the app.
Yeah, that's fair. I would never share my location with my mom. I'm just kidding. I actually do actively use the Find My Friends app, but I only have a couple of friends, and the way that we've gotten to use it is like if we go out, we want to make sure that nobody ends up in a ditch somewhere. So we kind of share each other's location, and we make sure that like we're okay or you made it home safely. Like for example, when I went to Coachella, like our whole group, we shared our location, so we were always able to find each other. So that was kind of like really helpful. And now I kind of just like keep it there. But it is kind of creepy that people, like some of my friends, can see where I'm at all the time. And yeah, it's weird. But if you don't have anything to hide, then I guess it's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, the way you used it, Carla, I feel is like how I would use it. You know, if I'm going out with a group of friends and you just want to make sure that everyone is okay and it kind of accounted for. And I mean, I suppose that maybe that's how Jane and Pinstripe are using it. I don't know, maybe.
I mean, I don't know that I would share with my partner or somebody that I was dating. I don't know why. I just don't think I would feel comfortable with them being able to check my location at any given time. I feel like there needs to be, like, maybe if you're married, but I feel like a lot of conflicts could come up if you're sharing your exact location with your partner 24/7. Because one of them is going to be more controlling than the other. And, like, for me, I hardly ever check the app, but I have friends that are like, hey, I see that you're here. Like, do you want to come over? I'm like, no. I don't know why you think I'm there. David, yes, we are low-key stalking. That is the thing.
I guess that's what you can call it.
You can call it stalking, but you honestly, the Find My Friends app, if you guys have an iPhone, you can definitely share your location with anybody. And you could also share your location for like 24 hours or like forever. So, and it depends. And you can choose who you share your location with. And if you're like, oh, I don't want to share my location with this person anymore, then you can take it off. And you could also turn off the app. So if you're like, oh, I don't want anybody to know where I'm at tonight, pretend that your phone died, then you just turn it off. But yeah, I'm giving you guys way too much information for this. Okay, now, next bold topic is loving what you do.
Very important, I feel.
Yes. This episode really talked about, like, being invested in what you do, and not only like loving what you do, but loving the decisions that you make.
I think it's very important to love what you do, because we all know someone, or maybe it's happened to us, where it's like we do what we do because we need to, not because we love it. And I know sometimes that's the road that we need to go down, but obviously we always want to get to a point where we are in a position where we love what we do. And I think that just helps your mental health as well, because you get to get up every day, you get to be happy and excited for what you're going to do, you get to go home at ease and peace with yourself, as opposed to, you know, waking up miserable, feeling anxious, feeling annoyed at any little thing that's going to happen, or just, you know, finding reasons to be irritated. So it's very important, I think, to love what you do. It really helps you get through life, because we all need to work to live.
Yeah. See, there's actually, where I work, there's like cups and logos that say like love what you do, and like some of our water cups say like the glass is always half full, and it kind of just like reminds you that it's very important. Like, first of all, your work. And no matter what age you are, if you are in high school trying to figure out what you want to do, or in college, or if you're already actively working, it is so important for you to find something that that thrives you. And this is really hard to say, because like I try to tell people, like, don't let money be your thrive, because like it's going to make you miserable. It's always better for you to be doing a job that you actually love and you like doing. And honestly, if you are in a position right now where you don't like what you do, try and find your hobbies and your talent and try and do something with it. Like, for me in the beginning, when I was first starting to get into like hosting, I was like, with the job that I had, I was like, oh, this is not what I want to do. But I would go over the weekends and I would shoot videos of like me telling you how to travel through Santa Monica and like different places. And then I would spend the week editing, and it was like, this would make me feel so much better, because after work, like I would be able to like come here. And now I actually love my job and I love coming here afterwards. And it's awesome because I'm like happy the whole time. So it is super, super important. You guys, you spend so much of your life working, so enjoy it. Do something that you love. It's so important. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You can do absolutely everything that you want and that you set your mind to. So go do it. And then our last bold topic of the season is going to be second chances after your significant other breaks your trust.
This is tough, and I feel like this is obviously a person-by-person case. I think Jane brought up a very good point, kind of how she mentioned a Pinstripe at the end. If I broke up with you, I wouldn't be breaking up with you for the right reason. She basically saying, like, she would break up with him because she feels the need to break up with him because that's what someone would tell you to do if you were cheated on. But I think it depends on the person. It depends on relationship. It depends on how far into the relationship it is. It's very hard to say how I feel one way or the other. It's really just up to the person and dependent on that relationship.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's totally dependable on the relationship that you're with, because you could be with somebody who you're like kind of thinking like, oh, do I really want to be this person? Do I not? And then they do something and you're like, oh, cool, I don't want to be with them, you know? And then if you're really emotionally invested with somebody, then it's going to be harder no matter what it is.
Exactly,
like, it could either be cheating, it could be anything else that they do, whether it's like a picture, anything that you see, and you're like, okay, am I willing to give this person a second chance? And I think that second chances are a good thing, but don't get caught up in giving them a second chance, because then it's no longer a second chance. It's like a third chance and a fourth chance, and then it kind of becomes a cycle. But it really does depend on the relationship. But let's do some quick rapid predictions for season 4 of The Bold Type.
And now your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Veronica,
Of course.
take it away.
So as I had already kind of mentioned, my gut is telling me that Scarlet is up. That Scarlet Magazine will face some issues next season. I think perhaps maybe they'll be greatly downsizing the magazine and kind of uplifting or like bringing more onto the .com, which kind of sucks because we all, you know, love Jacqueline, and she was going into that meeting with the board, so that's still lingering on kind of what decision they made, and Jacqueline's not at the end of the episode. No one knows where she is, so maybe Jacqueline is no longer with Scarlet, which would be very disappointing, and we hope that that's not the case.
Yeah.
I think Richard and Sutton will do well long distance. I think they'll make a really great effort to make it work. I do think that we won't see Richard for the majority of next season, though.
Which makes us all very sad.
It does. And as far as Jane and Pinstripe go, I hope that they keep flourishing. And I do think there's going to be some workplace tension between Idina and Kat, because they're clearly on different wavelengths when it comes to their relationship slash past relationship.
Yeah. You guys, I think that the downside, I don't think Scarlet is gone. I don't think that Jacqueline is gone. I just think that, like we've experienced in the real world, and if the storyline is kind of basically following the whole peak on social media and like the digital world, then maybe we can see like it's downsizing because the .com is doing better. So they're not going to get rid of everybody, but they will be getting rid of some people. And obviously they're not going to get rid of any of our main characters, but they're probably downsizing and having to move to a different office so that they can afford basically like the same thing for their employees. I think Kat is going to do fantastic on her own. She's going to be thriving with her career, trying to figure things out. And I think it's really awesome that she was able to kind of say, you know what, not because I didn't win, she still has a voice, and she's going to use her social media voice and her skill to kind of bring up those subjects to the light, which is basically what influencers are doing now. I think that we're going to see Jane and Jane and Ryan move in.
Whoa, different relationship there.
Different relationship. I think Ryan is actually going to move in, and that's going to kind of help their relationship. I don't think Ryan will be in the beginning episodes because he's still going to be on tour, and it's gonna be where their trust is going to be tested again, but hopefully it'll move forward and do well. And then Sutton and Richard are going to try the long distance stuff. I don't know how long Richard will be gone for, but hopefully he will be back soon. But for now, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. We will definitely be back next year for season 4. Veronica, where can the people find you?
Hey everyone, you can find me, Veronica Valencia, on Twitter and Instagram at It's Me, Veronica_V. I also want to give a shout out to Suen Smith in the chat. I see you, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yeah, you guys, thank you so much to everybody in the chat that's joined us all week. It has been very, very exciting. I am your host, Carla Beltran. You can follow me on Instagram at I am Carla Beltran, or you can tweet at me at Carla Beltran with an R at the end. And of course, don't forget to follow AfterBuzz TV on all social media networks. And I will see you guys later. Ciao!
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.